this is Niilo from Insomnium, and you are watching Loud TV. It is our first tour like this, and well, of course, Shadow's album was very successful, and While We Sleep is still our the biggest hit song, and it felt like a good time to do this kind of tour, between the albums. We have now toured quite a lot with the latest Anno 1696 album, and now we should start making the new one. But here was a nice spot for a tour like this. So I think we have 13 dates in Europe, our best market in Europe. We have London, Paris, and then Netherlands, a lot of Germany, and of course we continue in Finland. And nice thing is that we have Omnium Gathering with us. They also have anniversary of their Beyond album, so it's a double special thing. And now here in Paris, it's the second show of the tour, and so far so good, and it's a sold out show tonight, so it's going to be fun for sure. Many of the venues are much bigger than this one, so there will be over 1,000 people in many places in Germany, so the venues are quite big. So already it looks like a very successful tour at this point. Well, it clearly took us to another level, and While We Sleep was such a big hit for us that it gained us a lot of fans, and we got to do even better tours. And but we've been lucky in a way that every album has been a big step on a higher level, but we've never peaked like this. But it's been a steady growth through the whole career, and now we're here, and at this point, we're gonna play to our biggest headline audiences in Europe during this tour. So it's still looking like this for us, that we're going higher, and that's a great thing. It was the first album we did with Markus, and he took a big role in songwriting right away, in the arrangements, and brought the solos to a new level. So in many ways it sounded much bigger and cooler, so the production was already better than with our previous albums. And so it was kind of milestone, or a watershed album, that things were not the same as before. And clearly it was a good thing. We gained a lot of fans with this album, and this kind of songwriting. So that's the biggest thing, of course, having Markus in the band. Well, a fun thing was we were rehearsing kind of final training camp before the studio, and we were in Markus Vanhala's summer cabin, summer cottage by the seaside, but it was winter and a lot of snow. We went there with our equipment in the darkness in the forest to play the songs and find the last arrangements. And at some point we were out of beer, and or we realized that we don't have beer left anymore, and we have to visit the supermarket and drive to the supermarket and back. But it was so icy that Markus drove off the road. It was a tight corner, really icy road, and so the car was wrecked beyond repair. But luckily none of us got hurt at all, and even the beer in the back was okay. So we just grabbed the beer and walked through the forest in the winter to the summer cottage, and continued rehearsing. And then we had to, of course, get the car out from the gutter. But that was kind of the most dramatic thing that happened during that's the one thing I remember. Yeah, it's clearly, there's a historical tale which I wrote, short story for the album, and which is based on real actual events in history. 1696 was one of the worst years in Finnish history. There was a big famine, a lot of people died because of hunger, and it was a big tragedy. And of course I've combined some fantasy elements there as well. There's a werewolf story connected to this real life tragedy. So that's kind of the background for this Anno album. A lot of tragic things have happened in history, and many of those are something like that we humans can't affect, like the earthquakes, and like famine back in the days was something that if the harvest was lost, there was nothing much you can do. Those, like societies back in those days, they couldn't cope with a situation like that, so there was no food, and so a lot of people died. And nowadays it's a bit different, but still, like, we still can't predict the earthquakes or the wildfires in California at the moment. You can see. I have studied history. I've graduated from university, from cultural history. So yeah, that's my main thing. And but I haven't been a teacher at any point. A history guy, yes. But our Ville Freeman, he's the biology guy, and he's a professor at university at the moment. So that's why he usually doesn't tour. But on this tour, he is with us now, so he could manage to take the 2 weeks from the university. But he does the teaching, of course, because he's a professor. But I'm at the moment, I write my books and do my music, and that's my thing. With my novel now, I've been concentrating on year 1000, what happens around that. So, and of course Middle Ages in general, that's always been a fascinating subject for me. So kind of what I did with Winter's Gate, and building on that. So been working with a lot of medieval material and some very interesting French people appearing from that period, like the Pope Sylvester II, who was really intelligent and learned man, and I think he was the first French Pope. So I have him in my book now. He was the first one, and he was a really bright guy, and he built like these machines himself. I think he built like church organs and these sun clocks, sundials, and all kind of instruments. He was a really clever guy and really interesting figure, so I wanted to have in my story. And King Robert II also, who was the king of France in year 1000, so he's also in my book. So I've been studying that era. It combines history and fantasy, and kind of continues the story that I started with Winter's Gate. It has the familiar Insomnium elements, of course, but the story was first. This kind of bleak and very tragic story, and we wanted to make music which sounds like this story. So it had to be kind of harsh and cold, and even like black metalish at some point. So it became, and also the production, we wanted to be that it sounds a bit like 90s. 90s is kind of raw sound, not the modern polished metal sound, which is maybe not our thing anyway. But it had to have this raw edge that fits the story as well. And of course we wanted to push the boundaries as well, and see what we can do, and do kind of songs that we haven't tried before. And that's because of course we don't want to keep repeating ourselves all the time. We want to invent something new, bring something fresh to the table each time. And that's the tricky part, of course, because how to invent something new with your band but not lose the one thing that is cool in your band. It's really difficult, but
this is the deal.
It is very difficult, and we all know those bands that we have liked, and then they have changed to something else, so we don't like them anymore, and that of course is not cool. And Johanna Kurkela, a Finnish singer, vocalist. She's a very known artist in Finland, a great voice, and it's the first time we used a female voice in the Insomnium song. And it all started because that song kind of required that kind of female voice, but when we asked her to come, she made it much cooler than what it was originally.
And second one?
Second one, of course, Sakis Tollis from Rotting Christ, and that was also because the song required Sakis, because when we first played the song in rehearsals, we were all like, hey, this sounds a bit like Rotting Christ, yeah, and then somebody started joking, yeah, we should ask Sakis to sing here, and then already in the next rehearsals we all were like, yeah, we should really ask Sakis because it would be really cool, and we asked, and he wanted to do it, and it became one of the best songs on the album, and really good video as well, and a couple of times played the songs live with Sakis.
Did you?
Yeah, in the 70,000 tons cruise, and once in Athens in this festival we played, and Sakis surprised everybody and just came to the stage, and it was great. Well, for us it's clear that we want to make full-length albums, and that's how we see music, and we think about album like entities, about 50-60 minutes of music. That's how we have used to listen to our music, and all the bands that we have liked when we started to dig about metal music. Everybody did albums, of course. There were some EPs here and there. We have tried those as well, but we want to keep on doing albums. Like, no matter what is trendy, or if everybody else wants to keep releasing singles, that's fine, they can do it, but we'll keep doing albums. That's our thing, and you can build the story much better and kind of bigger arc when you have several songs and more music. Even though it's a lot of work, of course. It's much easier to just make one song and record it, but this is how we want to do it. We have some touring to be done after this tour. We also
Asia?
Yeah, to Asia. We have I think the Japan and Australia have been announced, and there will be some more, I think, to that tour, and some summer festivals, and let's see. Then we should really have some songs ready at that point, and but we don't have the schedule for the next album yet. But let's see. But that's like the next big thing we have to do. Of course, the new album.